My wife stood at the foot of the hospital bed and told the attending physician, "Stop everything. He can't pay for this operation anyway." I looked at her through the pain and said, "You're absolutely right." She reached for the pen to sign the refusal form, only to watch the door swing open and the hospital's chief of surgery storm in. He snatched the paper out of her hand before the ink touched it. He stared her down and said, "He doesn't need insurance or your permission. He's my son. Get out of my hospital." I suppose I should explain how I ended up on an operating table at 2 a.m. on a random Wednesday with a brain that was trying to kill me, but that part is almost irrelevant compared to what came next. I was asleep when the aneurysm in my head decided to explode. One moment I was dreaming. The next, it felt like someone had driven a spike through my skull. I hit the floor screaming. Sarah, my wife of 6 years, woke up to find me seizing beside the bed. She called 911. I remember fragments, red and blue lights, sirens, paramedics shouting questions I couldn't answer because every word felt like glass in my throat. They brought me to St. Mary's Medical Center, the top neurosurgery center in the state, also the most expensive, and, unbeknownst to me until that night, the place where my estranged father had been chief of surgery for the last decade. I hadn't spoken to him in 8 years. In the trauma bay, the ER doctor laid it out for Sarah while I floated in and out of consciousness. Ruptured cerebral aneurysm. Needed emergency craniotomy within the next 2 hours, or I was gone. Survival odds with surgery, roughly 70%. Without it, 0. Sarah's first question wasn't, "Will he make it?" It was, "How much will it cost?" The doctor hesitated. Without insurance coverage kicking in, the procedure alone is in the $150,000 range. Total bill with ICU and rehab, easily $300,000, maybe more. I heard her inhale sharply even over the ringing in my ears. Some background. I'm a freelance software developer. I clear about $85,000 most years. 6 months earlier, Sarah had convinced me to switch to a high-deductible health plan to save money for the house. $15,000 deductible. Her idea. I'd agreed because I trusted her. "We don't have that kind of cash," she told the doctor flatly. I managed to rasp, "We have the HSA, emergency fund." "It's nowhere near enough," she snapped. The doctor tried again. "Ma'am, we can set up payment plans later. Right now we need to move him to the OR." "I need to think," she said. The doctor's face hardened. "He will die tonight without this surgery." "I realize that," she answered. "But we have responsibilities. A mortgage. A future." We did not, in fact, have a child. We'd been trying for years with no success. That lie landed like a second explosion in my skull. They wheeled me to pre-op and pumped something into my fore that barely dulled the pain. Sarah stood in the corner, making hushed phone calls I couldn't follow. A junior surgeon came in with consent forms. He started explaining risks: stroke, paralysis, death. Without the operation, death was guaranteed within hours. Sarah stepped forward. "He can't pay for this. Just stop treatment." The young doctor froze. "Make him comfortable," she continued. "We'll sign whatever paperwork is needed to refuse further intervention." The room went quiet except for the monitors. I looked at the doctor. He looked at me. And in that moment, with blood pooling inside my brain, I understood exactly who I had married. "She's right," I croaked. "Can't afford it. Let it go." Sarah's eyes flicked to me, surprised, then flooded with something that looked a lot like relief. She took the refusal form the doctor reluctantly produced, scanned it quickly, found the signature line, and raised the pen. The door slammed open. A tall man in a white coat strode in, late 50s, steel-gray hair, eyes like scalpels. He took in the scene in half a second, crossed the room, and tore the paper from Sarah's fingers. "What the hell is happening here?" he demanded. The junior surgeon straightened. "Dr. Richardson, I didn't realize you were out." My father barked, not at me, at everyone else. Sarah bristled. "I'm his wife." My father turned on her with a look that could have frozen fire. "He doesn't need insurance. He's my son. Get out of my hospital. Now." Sarah opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. "I have medical power of attorney. Not while he's conscious and capable of making decisions. And as chief of surgery, I'm determining that your presence is a threat to his psychological well-being. Security is outside. Leave." She stared at me. I stared back and said nothing. She left. The door shut. Silence. My father looked at me for the first time in 8 years. "Marcus," he said, voice cracking on the second syllable. "Hey, Dad." The junior surgeon's eyes were saucers. This is your... Everybody out, Dad repeated. The room cleared. He pulled the chair up to my bed and sat heavily. I didn't know you lived here, he said. 3 years now. You never called. You never called either. He nodded once, accepting it. I'm operating. Myself. Best team in the building. We're fixing this. Dad, you don't. Yes, I do. I already lost 8 years. I'm not losing the rest. Something cracked open in my chest that had nothing to do with the aneurysm. He stood, paused at the door. Your wife, something's off. The way she was pushing money, pushing refusal. That wasn't normal worry. I know, I said. We'll handle her later. First I save your life. 6 hours on the table. At one point my pressure bottomed out. They nearly lost me. Dad refused to call it. He brought me back. I woke up 2 days later in neuro ICU. My father was asleep in the chair beside me, still in the same clothes, unshaven, looking 10 years older. I croaked his name. His eyes snapped open and the relief that flooded his face almost broke me all over again. Over the next days, he never left for more than an hour. Slept in the call room, showered in the locker room, checked my scans every morning himself. Sarah called the hospital once, asked if I was stable. Dad told her yes. She said, okay, and hung up. Never asked to speak to me. Never visited. On day 4, hospital security flagged an unauthorized attempt to access my chart. Someone using my old patient portal credentials, trying to see if I'd changed the beneficiary on my $500,000 life insurance policy. The someone was Sarah. Dad hired a private investigator that same afternoon. The report came back on day 9. Sarah had been sleeping with my business partner Derek for 18 months. They had been waiting for a natural medical event. When I switched to the high-deductible plan, at Sarah's urging, they saw their window. Plan, convince me to refuse treatment, collect $500,000, disappear together. The PI had everything, texts, emails, hotel receipts, screenshots of them house hunting in another state with my future death payout. Dad handed me the folder. You want her scared, ruined, or in prison? All 3, I said. But prison might be too merciful. Dad smiled for the first time in days. Then let's be creative. He paid the retainer for Patricia Chun, divorce attorney, legend, terrifying. Patricia read the file once and said, we're going to make her regret waking up this morning. First, I recovered. 3 weeks inpatient, then a rehab facility. Dad signed off on every therapy session himself. Sarah kept calling for vague updates. Dad fed her just enough to keep her hopeful. He's stable, but it's touch and go. Patricia filed for divorce and had Sarah served at her office, in front of Derek. Also filed a civil suit for intentional infliction of emotional distress and attempted insurance fraud. Depositions were beautiful. Sarah lied under oath about protecting our finances. Patricia let her dig the hole, then dropped the printed text messages, emails, and photos into evidence. Sarah's attorney aged 10 years and 10 minutes. Divorce finalized in 4 months. I kept the house, the business, everything. Prenup, signed at Sarah's insistence years earlier, plus proven adultery meant 0 alimony. Civil suit settled. Sarah paid $50,000, surrendered all claim to the life insurance policy, and signed a confession of facts. Derek got an offer he couldn't refuse. Sell me his 50% of the company for $250,000, or watch me sue him into bankruptcy for conspiracy to commit murder. He took the money and vanished. Then came the fun part. Sarah had spent my entire hospitalization posting tearful updates. Please pray for my husband, fighting for his life, while simultaneously texting Derek countdowns to the insurance payout. The day the divorce was official, I posted every screenshot, texts, emails, the refusal form photo, her prayer post side by side with messages celebrating how close she was to being rich and single. Caption, meet my ex-wife, who tried to let me die for $500,000 while begging for prayers online. Posted at 9 a.m. Monday. By noon, 60,000 shares. By evening, national news pickup. By Wednesday, her employer fired her for conduct incompatible with company values. Her friends ghosted her. Her mother called me sobbing, begging me to take it down. I reminded her Sarah had tried to murder me. Click. Sarah fled the state, changed her name, deleted every social account. The internet never forgets. People still tag her in old photos with murder wife. 6 months later, I'm 100% recovered. No deficits. Dad and I have dinner every Sunday. We talk about everything we missed. Work, mom's final months, why we were both too proud to pick up the phone for 8 years. One night over steaks, he finally said it. I was wrong. I wanted you to be me 2.0. You chose your own path, and you're happier and more successful than I ever was in medicine. I'm proud of you, son. I told him I was proud of him too, for saving my life twice. Once in the OR, once by showing me what a father actually does when his kid needs him. The $300,000 hospital bill? Dad made it disappear with one signature. Family doesn't get billed. Sarah wanted me dead for $500,000. Instead, I got my father back, my company stronger than ever, my freedom, and the deep satisfaction of watching two people who tried to murder me lose everything they cared about. The aneurysm that nearly killed me turned out to be the best thing that ever happened. It showed me who loved me, who never did, and gave me the perfect excuse to burn the second group to the ground. I sleep like a baby now.